Hi, my name is Marcia Jackson, and today I want to speak to you about diversity and inclusion in corporate America. Imagine working for a company where you look around and no one looks like you. Imagine that same company making decisions and you never felt as if those decisions were made considering who you are. Now imagine a world where the opposite was the case. This would almost be a perfect world. Well, I'm not here to sell you on a perfect world because you and I both know that's never going to happen. But what I want to do is to talk about how we can make our workplace a better place. Statistics show that most companies need to desperately consider diversity and inclusion. Most executives, when diversity is mentioned, will tell you that they embrace diversity. But what most of them don't know is that diversity is just the first step. Just because your company is diverse does not mean that it is inclusive. Making diversity a priority is simply only the first step. More importantly, company execs must create a culture where people from all backgrounds feel included. This is key to maintaining diversity and inclusion in the workplace. Let's say you're a woman and no one in the upper room, by upper room, I mean the room where all the decisions are made, no one in the upper room looks like you. What if all the decisions that were made without taking women into consideration? This could create major issues for the company later on. Most major companies are run by white males. Now, working for a Fortune 500 company has made me more aware that we have a huge issue and a long way to go to fix it. For so long, it's been kind of like the pink elephant in the room. It's like everybody sees it, but nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to stand up and speak out loud about it. So today, I'm speaking out loud. Today, I want to persuade you to speak out loud. I want you to go into your company and I want you to find out if you are being represented properly. So not only do I want to persuade you, I implore upon you to keep an open mind and follow me as I speak to you about the issue and how we might fix it. We've already recognized that there's an issue. So let's say that's the first thing. That's the first thing to fixing any problem. So let's talk about the difference between diversity and inclusion. To have a diverse workforce, companies must consider age, race, religion, nationality, sexual orientation, and gender when hiring employees. To ensure that there is inclusivity in the workplace, execs must make sure employees do not feel like they have to hide or mask core parts of themselves at work because they feel unsure, unsafe, or invisible. This can take a toll on motivation, retention, and turnover rates, which is all bad for any company. Also, company execs must create a workforce that reflects a variety of backgrounds and experiences. So let's talk about some ways companies can promote diversity and inclusion. One of the first things we should do is to, if you're an exec at a company, take a look at the management team. Make sure the management team represents diversity and inclusion. The management team should look like the employees. This is huge when it comes to making sure that the company is sound and on the right track. It is essential to have diversity amongst top management. Ask the question, are men and women represented? What about people from various cultures and religious backgrounds? Starting at the top can only assure that the company will be diverse. A survey from the Boston Consulting Group found that among most Fortune 500 companies, only 24 CEOs are women. Now, this only represents 5% of the total number of CEOs. That same report pointed out that among the 500 CEOs, only three are Black, and 4 represent the LGBTQ community. These numbers clearly indicate that there's an issue. Surely there has to be more qualified people of color, minorities, to fill these positions so that all employees feel as if they're represented. Secondly, companies should acknowledge and honor multiple religious and cultural practices. This can be done by focusing on holidays and celebrations. Right now, most companies give employees the holidays off, or they give them floating holidays so that they can use at their discretion. Fostering a company's culture where every voice is welcome, heard, and respected is another way to be sure that your company is diverse. Companies must have an open policy so that employees feel free to express themselves based on their own thoughts and beliefs. Having some type of communication forum where employees can be expressive makes them feel like their voice is being heard. And some of these thoughts can be used later in business plans when new laws and new rules are made up. Language barriers have to be considered as well. So often I hear people say, well, English is our native language and therefore companies shouldn't have to be multilingual. Well, I disagree. If a company employs and provides service to people who speak other languages, then you've got to take that into account. And think about it. This could open up a lot of opportunities for English-speaking employees to become multilingual. Wouldn't that be a plus for the company? Companies must also make an effort to hire for diversity. When during the hiring process, they should look for people that are different, not just try to hire the same person. Because doing this by making an effort to hire for diversity, it puts the company in a position to think in other diverse ways. And this brings about inclusivity. Different people from different backgrounds have different ways of thinking and doing things. And this is important because we all can learn from each other. Some other ways that we can bring about diversity and inclusion would be to build a multi-generational workforce. Right now, there's a lot of millennials that are coming into the workforce. They're tech savvy. A lot of the older people are not. So we can learn from them. They can learn from us. So that would be great in moving a company forward and making a company diverse. We have to make sure that everybody's need and preferences are reflected when you have meetings and gatherings. Have an open forum so that people can discuss, different things, different topics. And as I said, just learn what's important to other people and use that to form a more sound company. Companies also have to strengthen anti-discriminatory policies. Companies have got to recognize that people are different, people are raised different. Therefore, policies have got to be put in place so that people don't feel comfortable saying things and doing things that are offensive to other people. In the end, companies have to make sure that the workplace is inclusive of all people, all nationalities, all backgrounds, all races, religions, cultures. All of that has to be taken into account. Companies need to eliminate bias in the evaluation and the promotion opportunity. So often we see where people of certain races or colors or groups are promoted, not because they do a good job, but because of who they are and what their nationality or their background is. That should never happen. And companies have to put stuff in place so that this won't happen. Companies should also conduct surveys. Surveys are a good way of finding out anonymously what people like and what they don't like. By doing this, companies should be able to look at it and see where people are offended or where people feel like they're not being treated fairly. And that way they can include that, as I said previously, in plans and processes and in rules and regulations so that more people feel that they're represented. Focus groups are another good way. Focus groups help people, company execs, it helps them to see where people think, what they think about this and what they think about that. And it's also good to have outside people come in to review these surveys and the feedback from the focus groups so that those things can be implemented also into the company policies. Another good thing is to have one-on-one discussions with employees. This way, they don't feel like other people are judging them. They can speak freely to a company exec so that they can figure out, where issues are, issues that may not have been brought out in public meetings. The workplace is the best place to fix this type of problem because most people do work somewhere. So this is a good place to start. If every company jumped on board and started teaching employees how to understand their coworkers, it would be key to bringing equality into the workplace and, of course, into the world. We must become conscious and embrace what we know to be true. Learning who people are and learning their differences will help with understanding what makes people who they are. We must learn the culture of others. Companies must start employing people who look like people that work at the company. Too often, we see that some people are not represented in their company. We see people who don't feel that they have a voice. Once we become aware of this, we can do something to change it. Improving diversity and inclusion puts the company in a better position. Working together to make the company better is the ultimate goal. Thank you very much. Good night.